Have you seen the leaked news about the acting director of the US CISA, who uploaded American government secrets to ChatGPT?
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, America's top civilian cybersecurity person uploaded sensitive government documents to public ChatGPT.
Apparently, they have an approved and secure alternative. But he used ChatGPT anyway, triggering multiple security alerts and a full investigation, and yet he's still got his job.
How is that even possible?
Same reason you're still resetting passwords when passkeys exist. Same reason you've got 18 grand worth of incident response planning help sitting in your insurance policy you've never touched. Same reason you reckon your data's safe because it's in a UK data centre.
Security theatre.
Versus actual security. And the gap between them? Bigger than you think.
He's the guy with the plan for your online life. Keeps your data safe, cuts through the strife. Small biz owners, yeah, this is your guide. Cyber threats, beware, no place to hide. The Small Business Cybersecurity Guy, guarding your world with a sharp eagle eye. Tips and tricks to keep your systems tight. Stay secure, stay strong in the digital fight.
Welcome to the Small Business Cybersecurity Guy. I'm Noel Bradford.
I'm Mauven McLeod.
And I'm Graham Faulkner. Right, before Noel gets going, this episode's a bit different.
We've got 3 guests and are looking at 4 topics. All of them are urgent, none of them connected, except that they all answer the same question.
Which is?
Why you're all doing security wrong and nobody's actually told you.
Bit blunt, you have spent too much time with me.
Accurate though. We've got Chen on Passkeys. This technology kills phishing completely. It's been around 2 years, it's free, and most of you aren't using it.
Then one of our new contributors, Corinne Jefferson, who is a spooky friend of Mauven, unpacks what happened at CISA.
And then we are joined by Superfan and the other new contributor, Seamus O'Leary from Dublin. Thanks to a chat with Noel, he unearthed £18,000 worth of incident response planning and prep services in his cyber insurance policy. Didn't use them for 3 years.
Services he'd already paid for.
Yep, already paid for. Forensics, tabletop exercises, IR plan development. Just sitting there whilst he's trying to budget for exactly the same stuff separately.
Then we're doing those Trump cloud sovereignty cartoons everyone's sharing on LinkedIn. Wrong threat entirely.
So here's what ties it together.
Go on.
There's this massive gap between what you reckon protects your business and what actually does.
Those passwords you reset every month, not protecting you. Passkeys would.
Government security policies look strict on paper. Then senior people just ignore them.
And you're paying for incident response planning and prep you've never even switched on.
Your data's in a UK data centre. Great, doesn't matter. US courts control the companies running it.
Each bit stands alone. Jump to whatever hits hardest.
But honestly,
You'll want all of it. This isn't theory. This is your business right now.
Right, passwords first. Let's sort this.
You're listening to the Small Business Cybersecurity Guy. Join the team for an all-new episode every Monday on your favorite podcast platform.
Graham, give us the password attack statistics.
Microsoft reported over 1,200 password attacks every second back in 2022, before AI made it even easier.
whilst you're listening to this, tens of thousands of password attacks are happening right now.
Dr. Sarah Chen joins us. Sarah does AI and cybersecurity research and spent the last 6 months digging into passkeys. Sarah, welcome back.
Thanks for having me back. Always good to be here.
Right, passkeys. Plain English. What actually changes?
So the bottom line is that passkeys remove the shared secret. That's it. That's the whole thing. With passwords, you and the website both know the same secret. That's the problem. Someone steals it through phishing, or the website gets breached, or you reuse it somewhere dodgy. You're done for. Whereas passkeys work differently. For each website or service, your device creates 2 keys. The private key stays on your device and never leaves, and the public key sits with the website. The sign-in process works like this. I'm going to use a few broad brushstrokes here, as it is actually quite complex under the surface, but functionally at least. The website sends a challenge. Your device validates the request using the private key and responds. The website checks the response with the public key. Match? You're in.
So there's nothing to type?
Nothing. No password to remember, no code to type. You just confirm with Face ID, fingerprint or device PIN. And if that all fits, you're done.
What stops phishing?
The passkey only works with the real website address. That's baked into the keys and checked at both ends. If you land on a fake site, the passkey won't work, so you can't accidentally hand it over. Give you a proper example. You've got a passkey for login.microsoftonline.com, yeah? However, that won't work with a fake lookalike domain like, I don't know, let's say login.microsoft-login.com. Because the domain name is part of the initial challenge and is part of the keys. Even if an adversary in the middle attack grabs that token, it's useless because the private key never leaves your device. And without that, you can't get the session token to work because the domains don't match.
That's the bit that matters for small businesses. Most breaches start with phishing and nicked credentials. Sarah, give me the headline. What attacks actually die?
To start with phishing. Because there's no secret to steal. The same applies to credential stuffing, because each site gets its own unique passkey. And again for brute force attacks, because there's nothing meaningful to guess.
And help desk social engineering?
Much harder. Attackers can't talk their way into resetting a passkey like they do with passwords. Access needs a physical device and user approval.
So whole categories of attacks just stop working.
Yeah, raises the cost for attackers too. They need more complex methods like device compromise. And even then, without the private key...
If someone's running a business with 10 to 50 people, what do they do this week?
Start small. Prove it works. Step 1. Check your identity platform. Microsoft, Google, and most modern third-party platforms like Okta support passkeys now. Step 2. Enable passkeys and pilot with 5 people. Pick an admin, someone from finance, couple of regular users. Step 3. Support those 5 through setup. Don't just email instructions. Walk them through it.
Why 5?
You learn fast without breaking the whole business. You get internal champions who can tell others it's easier. That matters more than a policy document.
What about costs?
Many businesses can do this with devices they already own. Phones and modern laptops work as authenticators. If you want hardware security keys for admins, budget around 50 to 70 quid each. Buy 2 per person for backups.
Time savings?
One study saw password reset requests drop 75% after a passkey rollout. You get fewer support tickets, fewer lockouts, and a lot less wasted time.
And what goes wrong or significantly changes?
The big one is account recovery. Someone loses all devices and has no backup, and recovery varies by platform. So require 2 passkeys per user on different devices where possible. And then there is accessibility. Not everyone can use biometrics, so make sure device PIN options work and test the fallback path. And finally, in mixed environments. If you're using Apple, Google, Windows together, pick a passkey management approach that fits that mix. Don't assume one ecosystem solves everything.
So passkeys aren't magic. They're better plumbing. you still need a plan.
Exactly that.
Here's your takeaway. Passkeys remove the shared secret. That breaks phishing and password reuse completely. Run a small business? Check your sign-in platform today. Enable Passkeys. Pilot with 5 people. Measure support tickets and lockouts for a month. Then roll out wider.
Sarah, brilliant as always. Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure. Good luck with the rollouts, everyone.
Right, from solving authentication problems to watching the people who should know better create them.
Corinne Jefferson joins us. Corinne's a former US government cyber analyst now working in London. She wrote about the CISA ChatGPT incident for the blog.
The acting director of America's cybersecurity agency uploaded sensitive government documents to ChatGPT.
Let that settle for a moment.
Don't leave your business exposed. Hit subscribe and like the show. Stay informed and protected. Small Business Cybersecurity Guide. Security tips you can trust. Subscribe now. Stay secure.
Hi Corinne, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Walk us through what actually happened.
Okay. Dr. Madhu Gotumakala arrived at CISA as acting director in May 2025. He'd been South Dakota's chief information officer before that. Shortly after he gets there, he requests special permission to use ChatGPT. Most DHS employees couldn't touch it. Data retention concerns. His request gets approved with what the Department of Homeland Security, or DHS, called controls in place.
These weren't classified, though?
Technically correct, practically irrelevant. For official use only is controlled unclassified information. It's applied to sensitive material that doesn't hit the threshold for classification, but still shouldn't be public. Government contracting documents contain procurement processes, vendor relationships, pricing structures, and operational details. In the hands of a sophisticated intelligence service, this becomes intelligence. China's Ministry of State Security didn't build its comprehensive database of U.S. government operations through spectacular breaches alone. They built it through the sustained collection of exactly this kind of material over the years. Dismissing this as not classified misses how modern intelligence collection actually works.
What's the pattern here?
So a senior official spots a tool restriction, viewing it as an obstacle rather than a safeguard. They request a special privilege exception. An exception gets granted despite an approved alternative existing. Then the exception becomes normalized. The tool shifts from special case to routine use. Security controls trigger. Automated monitoring detects the violation. Post-incident rationalization. Official statements emphasize authorization, not appropriateness. This pattern repeats across the government and private sectors. It's not a technical problem. It's organizational psychology.
DHS had DHS Chat available, an internal AI tool configured to prevent data leakage. Why didn't he use that?
What is one of the major reasons anyone uses shadow IT? Because ChatGPT was easier. That's the core issue. When secure alternatives exist but require additional steps, decision makers choose convenience despite risk. DHS Chat was there, available, configured properly. Gotumakala used ChatGPT because it was more familiar, faster, and required less setup.
What happens to data once it enters ChatGPT's public platform?
It's shared with OpenAI. Their terms of service are clear about this. Data may be used to improve model responses. OpenAI operates globally. Users in virtually every country, including those with sophisticated intelligence services. Could a sophisticated adversary craft prompts to extract information about U.S. government contracting? Almost certainly. Would they retrieve specific documents? Unlikely, given how large language models work. But could they identify patterns, terminology, and operational approaches? Absolutely. This is precisely why DHS developed DHS Chat. Keep government data within federal networks.
There's more context. In December, Politico reported Gotumakala failed a counterintelligence polygraph in late July. Same time as these uploads.
Correct. 6 career staff were placed on leave following a polygraph he'd pushed for. Then he failed his own. I'm not suggesting a direct connection between incidents, but they paint a concerning picture of judgment and operational security during a critical period. From an intelligence community perspective, counterintelligence polygraphs identify potential security risks. Uploading sensitive documents to public AI platforms demonstrates exactly the kind of judgment lapse these examinations are designed to detect.
CISA is also hemorrhaging staff. Over 1,000 cybersecurity professionals left through buyouts, retirements, and layoffs since January 2025.
That context makes this incident particularly damaging. Career staff who followed every security protocol watched their acting director receive special permission, upload sensitive documents, trigger multiple security alerts, and face minimal apparent consequences. The message is clear. Senior political appointees operate under different rules than career professionals. This is how institutional security culture collapses. When leadership demonstrates that protocols are suggestions rather than requirements, the entire framework becomes theater.
What should UK businesses learn from this?
First, technical expertise or a senior position doesn't equal appropriate security judgment. Implement technical controls, not trust-based policies. Second, if you restrict tools, provide functional, secure alternatives. Otherwise, you create pressure for exceptions. Third, detection requires response. CISA detected the violation immediately through automated alerts. The problem was the response. Your incident response plan must include clear steps, regardless of who triggered the alert. Fourth, privileged access for senior officials should include enhanced monitoring, not reduced oversight.
How would this have been handled differently in the UK?
As you know, the NCSC governance framework makes this harder to execute. Privileged access exceptions require multi-level approval with documented risk assessments. A senior official requesting special access must demonstrate why approved alternatives are insufficient. Technical controls are enforced at the network level. Policy violations are prevented through infrastructure, not individual compliance. Clear separation between political leadership and operational security. Technical decisions are made by career professionals who can't be easily overridden. The United States could learn from this model.
Corinne, what actually keeps you up at night about this?
The normalization of deviation. The danger isn't the specific documents uploaded. 4 contracting files don't represent catastrophic intelligence loss. The danger is when leadership demonstrates policies can be circumvented through privilege, when exceptions become routine rather than extraordinary, when violations are quietly managed rather than transparently addressed. In intelligence operations, we call this security culture decay. It doesn't manifest as a single catastrophic breach. It manifests as dozens of small compromises that accumulate until the entire security framework becomes meaningless. That's the real damage from this incident.
Corinne, thanks for the analysis.
Thank you.
From government failures to practical solutions. Seamus O'Leary joins us from Dublin.
Seamus runs IT for a 100-person professional services firm. Discovered he'd been ignoring valuable incident response resources for 3 years.
Resources he'd already paid for.
Want the deep dive? Check the sources. All the details, guides, and courses. Hit the blog for scripts and more. The Small Business Cybersecurity Guide.co.uk. The blog. Real security. No fluff.
Seamus, welcome. Tell us what happened.
Thank you for having me. I'm a bit nervous here, but let's do this.
Before we start, a quick bit of housekeeping. Firstly, if you think Seamus sounds a bit robotic, that's on purpose. His employers would only agree to him taking part if we modified his voice, hence the slightly unearthly voice, as this story is too important to miss out on.
Yeah. So I'm in Dublin, which means I should technically be referencing the Irish NCSA framework and euros and all that. But honestly, I prefer working with NCSC guidance. It's clearer. And we've got NIS2 to factor in as well, being in the EU. But for this, I'm just going to use NCSC as my reference point.
Makes sense. Most of our audience is UK anyway.
Exactly. And I'll be talking in pounds rather than euros just to keep it simple. Roughly the same ballpark anyway.
Right. Tell us what happened.
For 3 years, I'd been paying nearly 9,000 quid a year for cyber insurance. And until 6 weeks ago, I couldn't tell you the name of a single person at our insurance company. In fact, it turns out I didn't even know who the company was. I knew the policy number, coverage limits, contact details for the brokers, and even exactly where the PDF was saved in our system. What I didn't know was that I'd been ignoring the single most valuable incident response resource we had.
What changed?
I had reached out to you guys for a bit of a pointer about incident response planning, and in that email exchange, Noel challenged me. He asked when I'd last spoken with our insurer. Not about claims, just spoken to them. I recall thinking, never. And then he said, "You're probably paying for an incident response team, forensic specialists, legal experts, crisis comms, and you've never even introduced yourself. That's like hiring bodyguards and not telling them where you live." He wasn't wrong.
What did you discover?
Buried in our policy were services I'd been trying to budget for separately. Annual incident response plan review. We didn't have a plan for them to review. Tabletop exercise facilitation. I'd been quoted $4,000 for this from consultants. It was in our policy. Quarterly vulnerability assessments, saving us roughly $6,000 a year. Security awareness training materials. Forensics retainer pricing. Massive discount compared to emergency rates. 24/7 breach hotline with a 15-minute response time. I'd been pricing incident response retainers separately. $12,000 annually for basic coverage. $18,000 for the tier we actually needed. I was already paying for this.
What did you actually do?
Scheduled a call with our broker. Said I wanted to introduce myself to our insurance company's incident response team. The broker sounded genuinely surprised. Apparently, most policyholders only ring when there's a claim. 20 minutes later, I'm on a video call with 3 people from our insurer's cyber team. IR coordinator, technical forensics lead, legal specialist. Their first question was, "Do you have an incident response plan?" My honest answer? I've got a Word document with some phone numbers and a flowchart I drew 3 years ago. They said, "Perfect, better than many. Let's fix that together."
What was the timeline?
Week 1. We had an in-depth video introduction. They sent me their standard IR plan template, a proper NCSC and NIS2 aligned framework. It would have cost me 2,500 quid from a consultant, and it was part of our policy. Week 2. I used their template to rebuild our IR plan. It took something like 8 hours of internal time and 0 external cost. Week 3 was a gap assessment, video call reviewing our infrastructure, logging blind spots, evidence preservation procedures, backup capabilities. This turned up an uncomfortable discovery. We had no formal evidence preservation process. If we'd had an incident, I would have been making it up as I went, at 3 in the morning, whilst panicking. Consultant equivalent? $4,000. It was included in our policy. Week 4. I booked a tabletop exercise. The insurance team provided a scenario and facilitated everything. I had been previously quoted 3,500 quid externally. Again, it was included in our policy. Week 5. We ran the tabletop. Simulated ransomware hitting client data. Discovered our notification procedures would have violated GDPR timelines. Backup restoration had never been tested at scale. Nobody knew who had the authority to authorize ransomware payment. The crisis communication plan assumed email would work during an email compromise. We would have absolutely cocked up a real incident.
What's this worth?
If I'd bought these separately. The IR plan development alone would have cost something like 2,500 quid. The forensics consultation was being quoted at least $4,000. And the tabletop exercise, the best price I could find was around 3,500. And add in the quarterly vulnerability scans, at $6,000 a year. The gap assessment costs $2,000. Gave me a total of at least 18,000 quid in services, which excludes my time finding all these services, etc. And yet it was all there, included in our 8,500 quid annual premium. I'd been ignoring 21,000 euros, 18,000 quid worth of pre-incident services, whilst trying to budget for incident response separately.
Wow, that's incredible.
If I hadn't listened to one of your podcasts back in the summer and reached out to Noel, I would be in a hole paying for all kinds of services and consultants that I don't need.
That is the best feedback we can get. So moving on, if at a slight tangent, how does this connect to Fortinet Breach Fest that Mauven wrote about the other day?
He explained that Dutch military intelligence had revealed that Chinese hackers compromised 20,000 FortiGate systems worldwide and were stealing configuration files, VPN credentials, firewall rules, and network diagrams. Everything. And most worrying is that the backdoors survive firmware updates. You can patch, wipe the device, or rebuild from scratch, and the backdoor is still there.
This is a huge problem the whole industry is seemingly ignoring. What did you do?
I checked our patching schedule. We were taking, I am embarrassed to say, 45 days to deploy security updates for all our critical vulnerabilities. This is despite the NCSC guidance being 14 days maximum, and NIS2 requires a risk-based approach. So in the next management meeting, as part of my update, I framed the problem as a governance issue with personal liability to our managing partner, said something like, look, the UK's NCSC and the US's CISA have issued multiple urgent warnings about vulnerabilities in our VPN infrastructure being actively exploited by nation-state actors. Our cyber insurer classifies these devices as elevated risk. If we suffer a breach from an unpatched vulnerability on government warning lists, regulators will investigate, and directors' partners could well be held personally liable for negligence. I felt the air get sucked out the room as I let it hang in the silence for a moment or 5. And then I presented options with total cost, including insurance impacts.
Nicely done. What was the result?
Oh, they approved budget for infrastructure replacement right there and then. Migration is scheduled for next month. Once we are live on the new kit, our insurance premium will decrease by at least 8% at renewal because we could demonstrate a documented IR plan, regular tabletops, pre-incident engagement, and quarterly vulnerability assessments.
That's great news. So, in your mind, what do you think our listeners should do this week?
Find your insurance IR contacts, not just your broker. Get the direct 24/7 breach notification number, IR coordinator name and email, technical team contact. Save these in your phone, right now, not in a document, in your actual phone contacts. Schedule an introduction call with your insurance IR team, not a crisis, just an introduction. Request their standard IR plan template. Schedule gap assessment. Audit your current IR plan if you've got one. Last update date. Contact information is current. Test that your breach hotline actually works. This implementation wasn't smooth. The gap assessment was brutal. Found problems I didn't know were possible. But here's the critical bit. We discovered all of this during a scheduled exercise with specialist support, not during a real incident at 3 a.m, whilst our client's data was being nicked.
Seamus, brilliant work. Thanks for sharing this.
Pleasure. Go introduce yourself to your insurance IR team. They've probably been waiting since you bought the policy. And one other thing. I am living proof that the team here at the Small Business Cybersecurity Guy really knows what they are talking about. Had I not reached out to Noel, I would have spent an absolute fortune and probably been taken for an expensive trip that far exceeded the initial costing I just listed.
Right. From practical wins to structural problems nobody wants to discuss.
Those viral Trump cloud sovereignty memes.
Noel's got opinions about these. Strong opinions. I may need to keep him calm.
I can stay calm.
That's what you said before you started rocking under your desk the other day.
Love the podcast, support the blog, grab some merch, help us keep turning out free content every week. Ain't cheap. Merch stores open, have a peek. Buy some merch and support independent security.
Those cartoons are both right and catastrophically wrong.
Explain.
They're right that UK businesses run on American infrastructure, controlled by American laws. They're wrong that this is about Donald Trump specifically, or any administration, or even politics, really. This is a structural infrastructure dependency. 15 years in the making.
Numbers. Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud control roughly 66% of the global cloud infrastructure market. For the UK SMB sector, higher. Over 80% of UK small businesses rely on at least one of these three for critical functions.
3 companies, all American, all subject to US legal jurisdiction, regardless of where they physically store your data.
When your IT director says your data never leaves the UK because you picked UK South region, they're technically right about physical storage, practically wrong about everything that matters for compliance.
Noel, stay calm. Explain why.
The company that owns those servers, manages the infrastructure, and controls access? American. Operates under US law. Answers to the US courts. When push comes to shove, US legal jurisdiction overrides physical geography. Every time.
The Cloud Act, passed 2018, different administration, explicitly grants US law enforcement power to compel US companies to provide data stored anywhere in the world. Doesn't matter if your data lives in a London data centre. Parent companies American, US courts can order disclosure.
Your UK region selection is a business continuity decision about latency. It is not a legal jurisdiction decision about data sovereignty. Most SMBs don't understand the difference. Most vendors have no incentive to clarify it.
Noel, breathe.
I'm breathing.
Schrems 2.
In July 2020, European Court of Justice invalidated the EU-US Privacy Shield framework. The ruling was clear. US surveillance laws create risks that EU data protection standards can't adequately address.
This wasn't about Trump. Structural problems with US intelligence gathering powers exist regardless of who's in the White House. Every UK business using US cloud providers must now conduct transfer impact assessments and implement supplementary measures. In theory. In practice, most SMBs have no idea Schrems 2 even exists. You do know that when you store your BitLocker key in your Azure AD account, Microsoft can see it in the clear and has said that they will supply it if asked by law enforcement, with a warrant, of course.
Noel, you're getting worked up again.
Because nobody's doing the actual work. Your cloud vendor can be fully GDPR compliant in data handling, while simultaneously being subject to US laws that conflict with GDPR fundamentals. Both things are true. When they conflict, you hold the compliance risk.
This isn't UK versus US, though.
Exactly. American businesses face exactly the same structural risks. US small business running on AWS? Just as dependent on single vendor infrastructure. Same concentration risk, same lock-in. When AWS has a major outage, they're just as vulnerable. Jurisdictional issues differ, but they've got identical exposure to market concentration and infrastructure dependency.
So what actually keeps you up at night?
Sheer concentration of risk. 3 companies control the infrastructure running modern business. When AWS has a major outage, significant chunks of the internet just stop working. December 2021, again in 2022, will happen again in 2026. And when it does, there's no alternative. You can't spin up equivalent infrastructure on a competitor's platform overnight. You're locked in by architecture decisions from years ago. Integration complexity that would take months to unpick. Staff training you can't replicate quickly.
AWS had 47 hours of significant service disruption across 2024.
Jurisdictional issues matter. Compliance risks are real. But operational dependency is even more dangerous because it affects everyone, regardless of location or regulations.
What should businesses actually do?
Understand what you actually bought. You didn't buy data sovereignty. You bought physical storage location within a US company's infrastructure. Read your contracts. Specifically, jurisdictional clauses, data access provisions, liability limitations. Conduct actual transfer impact assessments. EDPB published guidance on assessing whether your data transfers to US providers meet GDPR standards post-Schrems 2. Implement supplementary measures. Encryption with keys held outside US jurisdiction. Data minimization. Contractual clauses requiring vendor notification before government data access requests. Plan for disruption. Not political disruption, Operational disruption. What happens when AWS has another major outage?
None of these are expensive or complicated.
Basic due diligence. Most SMBs skip because they've bought into the "it's handled" myth.
Vendor liability for data breaches is typically capped at a month's service fees. Business paying £500 monthly for cloud services. Maximum liability is £500 for a breach that could cost hundreds of thousands in ICO fines.
Risk sits with you. Infrastructure control sits with vendors who've legally minimised their exposure. This is why I bang on about HSE-style director liability in cybersecurity. When directors face personal consequences for failing proper due diligence, suddenly these conversations happen at board level.
Noel, you're ranting.
I'm passionately explaining.
Same thing.
How do you turn this into a competitive advantage?
Use vendor diversification as a market differentiator. Most of your competitors will no doubt be entirely dependent on a single cloud provider. And as you've invested in multi-cloud capabilities, you can offer guaranteed service continuity they can't match. This enables the use of compliance as a sales tool when you've done the actual work on transfer impact assessments and documented risk management. You can demonstrate compliance rigor that most of your competitors can't. For customers subject to GDPR or handling sensitive data, this becomes a major qualification criterion.
How do you sell this to your board?
Just as Seamus did with his management, you frame it as enterprise risk management. We've identified concentration risk across our cloud provider relationships. Our current architecture creates single points of failure. Then quantify the risk. Post-Schrems 2, businesses using US cloud providers must demonstrate they have assessed data transfer risks. Our current posture exposes us to potential ICO enforcement. Position it all as a competitive advantage. Explain that your competitors are entirely dependent on a single provider. By implementing multi-cloud capabilities, we can offer service-level guarantees that they can't match. Use concrete numbers. AWS had 47 hours of significant disruption in 2024. At our current dependency, that represents X in lost revenue, Y in productivity costs. Boards tend to understand risk quantification.
Those memes tap into genuine anxiety about infrastructure dependency and loss of control. The anxiety is justified. However, the political framing is, misleading at best.
This isn't about any particular president. 15 years of market consolidation have created dependencies most businesses don't understand and can't easily escape. Vendors aren't going to fix this. Regulations aren't going to fix this quickly. Falls to you.
Understand what you bought. Document the risks you're accepting. Implement practical measures to mitigate exposure.
Stop believing the myth that someone else handled the hard thinking. Your data's in the UK. Your legal jurisdiction is in the US. Your business continuity depends on 3 companies. None of this changes based on who's in the White House.
Act accordingly.
Right, 4 topics, 3 guests, 1 common theme. Security isn't about perfect solutions. It's about understanding actual risks you face and taking practical steps to manage them.
Passkeys remove the shared secret. Check your platform. Pilot with 5 people. Measure results. Government security failures happen regardless of expertise or position. Implement technical controls, not trust-based policies. Cyber insurance includes incident response services you're probably ignoring. Introduce yourself to your IR team this week. Cloud sovereignty isn't a political problem. It is a structural dependency problem requiring informed decisions.
Links to all sources, blog posts, and detailed breakdowns in the show notes.
Next week, who knows what that will bring, but we will be all over it. A massive thanks to Seamus, Corinne, and Sarah. Check out their posts on the blog. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Progressive implementation so you can build capability as we go.
Questions about today's topics? Hit us up on LinkedIn or blog comments.
For the Small Business Cybersecurity Guy, I'm Noel Bradford.
I'm Mauven McLeod.
And I'm Graham Faulkner.
Stay secure, stay skeptical, and don't trust anyone who says cloud infrastructure is fine when 3 companies control 2/3 of the market. See you next week.
Right, before we let you go completely, let's have a quick chat about the boring but necessary legal bits. Don't worry, I'll make this as painless as possible. First up, and this is important, everything we've said today represents our own personal opinions and experiences. These views are ours alone and don't represent any organisation we work for, any employers, advertisers, sponsors, or anyone else who might be connected to the show. When we're giving you advice or sharing our thoughts, that's coming from us as individuals, not speaking on behalf of anyone else. Everything we've talked about today is for general guidance. It's meant to point you in the right direction, but it absolutely shouldn't be treated as professional advice tailored specifically to your business. Your situation is unique. What works brilliantly for a Birmingham bakery might be completely useless for a Manchester marketing agency. We do our very best to keep everything accurate and current, but let's be honest here. The cybersecurity world moves faster than a caffeinated squirrel being chased up a tree by Mauven's Jack Russell. Things can change between when we record and when you're listening, so always double-check critical technical details with qualified professionals before you go making major changes to your systems. If we've mentioned any websites, products or services, we're giving you information, not necessarily giving them our seal of approval. We can't be responsible for what happens on their end or if things go sideways when you use them. Some things we recommend might involve affiliate partnerships. We'll always flag those when they come up because transparency matters. Now, if you're dealing with serious cybersecurity incidents, actual data breaches, or gnarly legal compliance issues, please talk to proper professionals, rather than just relying on podcast advice. We're here to educate and help you understand the landscape, not to replace your security consultant, solicitor, or IT team. This has been a Small Business Cybersecurity Guy production. Copyright 2025, all rights reserved.
Click subscribe and join the ride. Together we'll shield the digital tide. Your business is strong when your data's secure. The Small Biz Cyber Guy, here to ensure. Thanks for listening, we're signing off. Stay cyber safe no matter the cost. The Small Biz Cyber Guy says goodbye. Until next time, keep your day